right, good morning, everybody. We are now live streaming. This is the Development Review Committee meeting of September 7th, 2021. We're going to call the meeting to order. It is 9 a.m. We'll do a quick roll call. My name is Eric Scher, the Community Development Director.
Cody Howing, City Engineer.
Candace Bocock, Principal Planner.
Vanessa Norwood, Contract Planner.
Richard.
Richard Martinez, Public Works.
Thank you. And then we're going to go ahead and get started on today's agenda. This is the time set aside for any public comment on items not listed on the agenda. State law does not allow us to take action this morning. We can refer it to a later meeting. At this time, we have not received any requests for public comment on items not on the agenda. So with that, I will close the public comment period at this time. Next is approval for minutes from the August 3rd, 2021 DRC meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I will be abstaining due to my lack of presence at that meeting.
Richard?
Motion to approve.
I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, 2-0. Next, we're going to our projects. The first one is Jessica, you're there. Thank you. Just for the rest for the meeting, Jessica Australia has joined us, Deputy Fire Marshal.
Hello, I'm here now.
Thank you. So we're on to the first project, which is 2366, 2336 First Street. I do have a conflict of interest, so I'm going to be stepping out of the room. And we'll turn the meeting over to Cody to run from this point forward. All right. Candace, watch your email. Or do you have it?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, as stated, this is item 4A of the agenda. Candace, whenever you're ready, feel free to give your report.
Okay. This is case number 69-21 PPR submitted by the applicant Victor Lockett. It's proposing an adaptive reuse project of 2 existing warehouse buildings into 3-story 36-unit housing development at 2366 and 2336 First Street called Lordsburg Lofts. The project requires approval from the DRC to ensure consistency with the development standards and goals of the Old Town Laverne specific plan. The project is located on the south side of First Street between F and G Street. The buildings are currently being used as industrial uses and have been split into multiple suites. The 2 buildings were constructed in 1985, and the most recent uses were manufacturing and industrial uses described in more detail within the staff report. The buildings were previously zoned for industrial uses in the Aero Corridor specific plan. The Old Town Laverne specific plan rezoned this property to medium density residential. The medium density residential district allows for 2 or 3-story row houses, stacked flats, or lofts. The plan outlines development which would strengthen Old Town Laverne and provide a distinctive center with attractive streets, enjoyable public spaces, historic neighborhoods, and a variety of housing options. The specific plan considered the future development of the Laverne Gold Line station in order to create a more transit-oriented development close by the station. This is actually the 3rd project that has been proposed that's consistent with the newly adopted specific plan. The commercial and industrial uses in this area are currently recognized as legal non-conforming and will be redeveloped in the future to be consistent with the medium density residential zoning. Therefore, at this time, it may appear as if this development is not compatible with the surrounding uses, although this is, like I said, only the 3rd type of this development, which is compatible with the newly adopted specific plan, and it will be compatible with the surrounding uses in hopefully the near future. So the site is 58,000 square feet, and the Old Town Laverne specific plan defines medium density residential as up to 40 units per acre. The proposed density will be about 30 units per acre. The specific plan development standards for medium density state that a 3-foot setback is required for the public streets setback and 2 feet for the side yard or for the setback to the public alley. The proposed setbacks of 5 feet to the front property line on First Street, over 49 feet on the sides, and the 0 property line to the rear, which is an existing setback with the buildings where as they sit today, all are consistent with the development standards for this specific zone. The buildings are proposed to be basically cut in half long ways to create 8 units on the front and then 10 units on the rear, with the central courtyard that will be 10 feet wide with a concrete path and landscaping to serve as a second point of access for each unit. There will also be a covered hallway that will be located between the units and the existing block wall that is adjacent to the railroad tracks today. That will be used as another point of access as well. The proposed elevations on First Street feature 8 units that pop out about 150 square foot box from the existing building, and will have a sliding glass door and large windows above. Each pop out has a flat roof that stands 18 feet tall. Each unit will have either the vertical siding painted a light color, which is called out as linen, or a charcoal colored brick veneer. Each pop out will also have an outdoor area with each unit enclosed with 42-inch tall vertical wood slats painted a medium warm gray. Landscaping will also be located between the fence and the public sidewalk area. The outdoor area will also have decorative lattice covering above, also painted that linen color. The 3rd floor outdoor area will be located above the pop out with a gray metal railing. The front door is to the north of the unit, front onto First Street, and will be painted a brown color with a window above. And all of this can be seen in the elevations as attachment B, I believe. The side elevations will have a variety of materials, including linen, color, vertical siding, and stucco painted warm gray and off-white colors. The side elevation will also have a masonry wall that is actually from the existing building that will not be changed. Each side elevation will also have a 300 square foot addition that will allow for the additional space that's needed to build the 2-bedroom suite units. The 3rd story has a pitched roof, and that can be seen more clearly in the side elevation in that attachment. The interior north courtyard elevation will feature many windows with sliding glass doors for each unit. The walls will be a combination of charcoal and brick veneer on the 1st floor and the gray stucco on the 2nd and 3rd floors. There will also be a metal railing on the 2nd and 3rd floors. The interior courtyard south elevation will also have 16 smaller windows along the 1st floor and the charcoal stucco with horizontal wood siding. The 2nd floor will have large windows with vertical wood screened, painted a variety of different colors. There will also be metal railing on the 2nd floor area. The units range in size from 800 square feet to 1,135 square feet, including 28 1-bedroom loft units and 8 2-bedroom units. The Old Town Laverne specific plan permits up to 3-story structures in this zone at a maximum height of 24 feet if the roof is flat, and 32 feet if it has a pitched roof. The proposed building heights are consistent with the development standards of the specific plan. And the landscape plan will also be approved and reviewed at a later time prior to the issuance of any building permits. The specific plan states that 1 parking space is required for each unit. There are 36 units, including 28 1-bedroom and 2 2-bedroom. Therefore, a total of 44 bedrooms proposed and 44 parking spaces are required. The applicant is proposing a total of 52 parking spaces, which includes the 44 with an additional 8 spaces for guest parking. The parking is located where the existing parking is today, and it will be reconfigured just to add a few more spaces and additional landscaping. A 7-foot wide landscape planter will also be added between the 2 properties. The site plan includes 4 vehicle entries to the site from First Street, each 22 feet 6 inches wide, and the parking area will also provide an area for bicycle lockers on both sites. The Old Town Laverne specific plan requires that at least 15% of all residential developments in Old Town are devoted as affordable housing to provide housing to Laverne's varied income residents. Of this percentage, 40% must be occupied by families of very low income. For the proposed development, 6 affordable units are required, 3 of which must be the very low income. The other 3 units will be used for moderate income. An affordable housing agreement will be drafted to the satisfaction of the city attorney and will require planning commission approval prior to the issuance of building permits as stated in condition number 9. Condition number 8 also states that the applicant shall provide public art for the project equivalent to 1% of the building permit valuation. The public art shall be submitted to the community development department, which will then be reviewed by the DRC prior to issuance of any building permits. In 2012, when the specific plan was approved, the city certified an environmental impact report for the specific plan. The Old Town Laverne specific plan contemplated the construction of multiple residential units. The proposed project is within the allowed density for the area, and the units meet the development and design standards. And the number of units does not exceed the number of units that was contemplated when the specific plan was created. There have been no changes to the project or the circumstances which would create new impacts or increase the severity of previously identified impacts, nor are there any new alternatives or mitigation measures which the applicant is unwilling to implement. So no subsequent review is required under CEQA guidelines 15162. And the final EIR with comments and responses and record of project approval can be seen on the city's website. With that, staff recommends that the Development Review Committee conditionally approve case number 69-21 based on the proposed draft conditions of approval.
Thank you, Candace. Richard or Jessica, any questions that you guys may have before we open it up to bringing in the applicants in?
No, I didn't have any questions.
Okay,
Okay. I have not seen any plans for water. Is there two basic main water meters for each site that they're going to be using?
I believe that's what's there today.
yeah, so they're retrofitting the existing buildings, Richard, so I would imagine if it would be a similar configuration, if not the same. But we can bring in the applicants and let them.
Okay, I imagine they'll be upsizing the meter. And also, I was going to note the study that would have to be done for wastewater, but I see it's number 19 on the condition, so it's already in there.
Yes.
All right, I'm bringing in Victor Lockhart. Is there anybody else, Candace, that I should bring in for this particular project?
Jim Moran and Angelina are also part of the project. I'm not sure.
I'll bring in Jim. Does it work? There's Jim. You're still not. For some reason, it's not letting me promote Victor to a panelist. Oh, there he goes. Okay, then you said there was one more person.
I would just leave it there.
Okay.
And then if we need Angelina, she's a property owner.
I see.
Okay, so Victor, did you hear the question about the water meter?
Victor, you're on mute if you're.
Hello?
Victor, we can hear you.
Okay, I am going to apologize. There was an outage at my house and I was just able to connect right now.
Oh, good. Okay, well, glad you could make it. The question was posed by Richard regarding the project, particularly if there was going to be any changes to the water and sanitary sewer service for this project from the existing condition.
Yeah, there's going to be upgrades to, especially on the sewer to run the wastewater from all the units. But as far as the main service, and then again, that will come with a demand study. We're planning on coming in with the main service line and then just, I guess, sub-metered or.
So, yeah, this is Jim. I think the idea was to, I don't know the size of the meters that are there, but the idea would be to, whatever the demand is, we would just keep one main service per building. And I think that was the main question. So whatever, if we have to upgrade the meter, we will, but that was the idea.
Okay, yeah, that was my question. And then the study for the wastewater.
Yeah.
Those are the only comments I had.
We're aware of it, and I know the civil engineer is already looking at it. So we'll work in tandem on that.
Okay.
Okay. Victor or Jim, is there any other comments that you'd like to add to convey to the group?
Just that I wish that I saw the presentation just in case I missed something. But unless there is something specific that you want to ask about the design, I have nothing to add.
Sure.
I'll just say that this is a project that is unique in that we are trying to use the existing site, which is challenging because of the railroad and the new gold line and the dimensions of this site. It was real difficult to figure out how to develop it. And I think Victor's done it. The owner was had an open mind to look at this project in a different way. And with Victor's skills, I think the three groups have come together to come up with this really unique. And I think the city, it'll benefit everyone. And I think we're going to bring in potentially a younger group that will enhance the neighborhood. And with the new building across the street and potentially another project at the end of the road, I think this is a great different building. It's not the same, and we're really excited about it. We think it's going to be great, and I'm hoping the city thinks the same.
And I'll piggyback on Jim, and again, probably is a little bit of the little stress of trying to log in late and missing the presentation, especially since, I not only in this project, but in previous projects I've worked in collaboration with Candace, and just kind of like what Jim said, I think this is a nice different take into what could be done. And even at some point I had conversations with Candace as far as how I don't know if it could be a catalyst of other projects that could go along this pedestrian corridor that we have considered First Street. I'm very excited, as a young architect, at the possibility of adding contributing to a city that I like. I love your downtown. I think it's very trendy, very hip, and I think this is the kind of project that would fit in that scenario. But also at the same time, it's a very historic city. I don't know if you're familiar with the project we did on First Street, but it was something that carried on from what could have been there in the past, or some consideration to the past. And now this is something that is, as Jim said, although something different, but still with the effort of keeping the existing, we're kind of resonating on that past history. I know the owner has a very personal connection with the buildings, and the fact that we could do this in what I think is something that looks good, it could be successful, is very exciting.
Sure. Thank you, Victor. All right, Richard, Jessica, I'll go back to you. Any other questions, any concerns we want to raise at this point?
No, I think I've already given some comments, which I didn't have much on this project, but just a few little things.
Okay. All
No, I
right.
have nothing else at the moment.
Okay, I don't have anything else. I think Richard's comments covered one of the very few things I was thinking about, but I guess at this point, since there's no other comments, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Vote carries 2-0. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much.
Appreciate it.
I gotta go out. Oh.
All right, we're gonna wait to bring Eric back in to move on to the next item, so just bear with us for a moment or so.
Okay, now we are on to items B and C really are two connected projects, so we'll be presenting both of them together. And so with that, Vanessa, you want to go ahead and begin?
Thank you. This is a two-part development project proposed by Brandywine Homes consisting of 50 three-story interlocking townhomes at 3717 Fruit Street and an 8-unit affordable single-family home project on Walnut at 1874, 1876, 1878 Walnut. The Fruit Street currently contains a farmhouse, plant nursery, and accessory structures. The project is bounded by apartments to the east, a mobile home park to the west of Fruit Street, across Fruit Street, a commercial center to the south, and Lutheran High School to the north. The Walnut Street site consists of a vacant city-owned property that was purchased with funds from the city's low and moderate income housing fund with the intent to construct affordable housing. In 2020, Brandywine Homes and the city entered into a disposition and development agreement to provide 8 affordable units on this site in order to comply with requirements to provide affordable units. This property is bounded by single-family residences to the north, across Walnut, Southern Pacific Railroad to the south, vacant land to the west, and live oak wash immediately to the east. The precise plan for Fruit Street, 6220 PPR. The proposed 3-story townhome project contains 7 buildings, has 50 units, and is accessed via a gated driveway on Fruit Street with emergency vehicle access at the south side of the property. A left turn pocket into the project is proposed for southbound traffic on Fruit Street. The property has a density of 22.1 dwelling units per acre, a maximum height of 40 feet. There is a 6,500 square foot open space area in the center of the project with 25 guest parking spaces along the north side of the project. A 6-foot high block wall and landscape is proposed around 3 sides of the development. The Fruit Street elevation contains ground floor patios and second and third level units have balconies. A 25-foot landscape buffer is proposed along the rear property line, which also has a grade difference of 4 feet in this area, which necessitates a retaining wall between the properties. Reduced building setbacks are proposed as the site is constrained by the requirements to provide perimeter access road. The project's architecture reflects Spanish and Mediterranean design features with decorative gable accents, recessed windows, decorative ceramic tiles, middle accents, wood trellises, and decorative awnings. All units have 2-car garages, including tandem and side-by-side stalls and private open space. There are 3 floor plan variations ranging in size from 1,310 feet to 1,791 square feet with 2 and 3 bedrooms. Tree removal permit 2921 TR. 2 significant trees are proposed to be removed. 1 tree is located on the site and the other is located just outside the fence line. The 1 tree in the area proposed for a retaining wall and the other tree lies within 1 foot of the property line and is in poor health. The applicant proposes to replace both trees at a 4-to-1 ratio. Replacements for oak trees on the adjacent property would be planted on the adjacent property. Because of the location of both trees, justification exists for the removal and replacement of these trees. General Plan Amendment 122-20. The general plan currently designates the site as commercial business park. The applicant proposes to amend this site to a new land use designation of specific plan mixed use, which would allow non-mixed use residential development. Single-use projects would be allowed as well as standalone residential projects. Specific Plan Amendment 6320. This project area is currently zoned Foothill Boulevard Specific Plan. The proposed specific plan amendment adds a new category of conditionally permitted uses for high-density residential, allowing 11 to 30 dwelling units per acre and creating development standards. This property is proposed to contain this overlay, which would be consistent with the proposed general plan update. The amendment also furthers the goals and policies of the city's housing element, as well as helps to satisfy the RENA obligations. Tentative tract map 121-20. The proposed tentative tract map would allow townhomes to be sold as individual units under common map provisions. Buyers would own the unit space and a percentage of the common areas. Conditional use permit 1521. Under the amendments to the Foothill Boulevard specific plan, a conditional use permit is required for high-density residential projects. This project meets proposed development standards and would be compatible with adjacent uses. The Fruit Street project has been determined to meet all development standards set forth in the Foothill Boulevard specific plan as amended and applicable standards in the zoning code. The Development Review Committee is being asked to determine that this replacement is appropriate in view of the goals of Chapter 18.78 relating to preservation and protection of trees and approved tree removal, case number 2921. In addition, the Development Review Committee is being asked to determine that precise plan case number 6220 provides architectural quality, site design, including building setbacks that meet the intent of the general plan and proposed zoning for the property. Now I'll discuss the Walnut Street project. The precise plan 6420, 8 two-story single-family homes are proposed on an 8,040 square foot property. Access to the homes would be from a shared driveway on Walnut Street. The specific plan allows a density of 7 units on this lot with potential for 2 density bonus units. This project proposes 8 units. A 6-foot high block wall is proposed on the east and west perimeters of the project site, and an 8-foot high block wall along the south perimeter adjacent to Southern Pacific Railroad tracks. The density of the project is 11.4 dwelling units per acre, and lots range in size from 2,745 square feet to 3,028 square feet. The project provides 4 off-street guest parking spaces. There are 2 variations of the floor plans, with each home having a total of 1,350 square feet, including 3 bedrooms and 2.5 baths, with all homes having 2-car garages. The structures have a maximum height of 26.5 feet. The architecture of these homes is Spanish Mediterranean, with design features including earth tone colors, red concrete roofs, decorative gable accents, wood shutters, and decorative metal grills. The general plan for this project, general plan amendment, would designate the site as specific plan residential from the low density residential land use designation. This change is consistent with the ongoing citywide general plan update. As with the Fruit Street project, the general plan amendment would also further the goals and policies of the city's housing element and also help satisfy the city's RHNA obligations. Specific plan 6520. The Walnut Street specific plan is being amended to allow for development of properties currently designated for high density projects, such as apartment buildings, to be developed as individual for sale residential units. The proposed amendments are consistent with the current specific plan, and the density remains the same as the existing densities contained in the current specific plan. Tentative tract map 6620. The proposed tentative tract map would allow for 8 lots to be sold as individual parcels that would each contain a single family residence. The development would have a homeowners association that would be responsible for maintenance of the shared driveway, sidewalk, sewer, and storm drain systems. Conditional use permit 3021. A conditional use permit is required for the residential plan development to assure project compatibility with the area, as well as compliance with site and design standards. It has been determined the project meets proposed development standards and would be compatible with adjacent uses. Affordable housing agreement 6820. In December 2020, the City Council approved a development agreement that contained a unit regulatory agreement, also known as affordable housing agreement, for affordable housing component of the project. The Fruit Street project is required to provide 15% of the units at an affordable rate. The 8 homes proposed on Walnut Street satisfy this requirement with the proposal for moderate income households. The Development Review Committee is being asked to determine that the precise plan case number 6420 provides architectural quality, site design, and building setbacks that meet the intent of the general plan and proposed zoning for the property. Environmental review. The city released a request for proposals for an independent environmental consultant to conduct an environmental review of the project in accordance with CEQA. LSA Associates was selected, and they completed an initial study for the project, which identified that a mitigated negative deck would be the appropriate environmental documentation for the proposal. The mitigation measures specified in the MND reduce project impacts to below a level of significance. Therefore, the project would not have a significant impact on the environment. Transportation analysis. The LSA transportation study examined traffic operations for both projects under a variety of scenarios. While the project does not create a transportation impact at any of the studied intersections, the project will be required to contribute a fair share of 10% for the traffic signal improvements at Fruit Street and Amherst Street intersection. A left turn pocket into the proposal from the southbound Fruit Street traffic with the reconfiguration of a new center median is proposed. Staff recommends that the DRC approve precise plan, case number 6220, and tree removal 2921 for the Fruit Street project, and recommend approval to the planning commission and city council of related cases in order to construct 50 interlocking townhomes and the 8 affordable units. Staff also recommends that DRC approve precise plan case review number 6420 for the Walnut Street project, and recommend approval to the planning commission and city council of related cases for development of the 8 affordable single-family homes. I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Vanessa. A lot of information, I know. And with the mask on. So I'm gonna bring in the applicants, and at this time, I'm gonna bring in Alex and Angela. But anybody else that's on the Zoom call participating, if at any point you would like to participate, just use the raise hand function, and I'll allow you to talk. But let me bring in Alex and Angela. All right, good morning, Alex.
Good morning.
Good morning, Angela.
Morning.
All right, so we're gonna, at this point, we have not received any requests for public comments. We did have some over the weekend. I know some letters of support that were submitted to us that we will make sure get included for the planning commission's meeting tomorrow night, as well as the city councils. But otherwise, we have not had requests for public comment. So at this time, we're gonna start with you both and see if there's any comments you have on the conditions of approval, on any questions you might have on the process or anything else.
Okay, yeah. So just going through the staff report, there was an error on page 7. It's mentioning for Walnut, instead of 6220, it should be 6420.
Yeah, that's correct. That's changed, yes.
Okay. And then on the next page 8, I apologize if I understood your question, but it's Spanish and Mediterranean on one, and then it's Craftsman on the other. So there are 2 styles. It's more of like a Spanish Mediterranean, like slash, not 2 different products. So Craftsman is the other one. Moving to page 3 of the Fruit Street, and same thing for the Walnut Street. I wanted to make sure that the bonds, there are surety bonds that are not just cash bonds that are allowed for the city. So I must not have communicated myself. We just wanted to make sure that surety bonds are also an option.
Yes, those are an
That
option.
appears, that appears in condition of approval number 23 specifically. It states cash bond or letter of credit does not provide or say surety bonds are acceptable. So we just ask that if you can amend that condition to clearly state that is permissible.
Yes,
Okay, Cody agrees, so that's fine.
Yes.
So we will do that. And we'll make the correction and note it at tomorrow's planning commission meeting as well.
Okay, and then
Okay.
for conditions of approval, item number 50, stucco finishes. I had spoken to Vanessa about the 1620 for both Fruit Street and for Walnut. And I understood, Eric, that you were okay with that.
You know, originally, typically, especially for the Spanish Mediterranean style, we look for a smooth plaster. And I understand that you're requesting a more traditional stucco treatment of the 1620 grade. While Vanessa has a condition as 2030 is kind of a compromise, if you will. It's a minor difference, I understand, and I know it's a financial repercussion for you for going from 1620 to 2030. So I don't know if Cody or Richard had any other thoughts on that.
If I could just add on, it's not just the cost, but why it's so much more. The 1620 sand finish is what we typically do. I know the concern about doing something that's got a texture to it. That's not what we're going to do with a Spanish elevation. But to apply the 2030, that is obviously an upgrade, and it is more difficult to apply, especially on a 3-story product. We have a 3-story townhomes on this one, if you recall. So that makes it application of that condition application of that stucco finish even harder. It's not as hard as the true smooth, which would actually have to be applied by hand. But it is significantly more expensive than the 1620. And we don't believe it takes away from any of the looks. I mean, we've done a lot of 1620 around and can show you evidence of that. Anyway, we're looking for a change on that.
So I don't necessarily have a strong opinion either way, so in that case, I would defer back to whatever the city standard is in this case.
And we don't have a specific
Well, I guess
standard, but
Typical. excuse me.
Richard, do you have any thoughts on it?
No, I don't have too much experience on it and stuff, so I wouldn't be able to say one way or the other.
All right, I'll go ahead and support the change to 1620.
Thank you. Sorry to go backwards a little bit on page 7 of the staff report. Actually, not page 7. Let me find sorry, it's page 5 of the staff report. We didn't understand that there was going to be 36-inch tree replacements for the oak, the 4-to-1. We had in our budget 24-inch. Is there any way that we can go back to 24-inch? It's a little bit of a surprise. I would have hoped that somebody would have mentioned a little earlier in the entitlement process that the city was going to require 36-inch replacement trees.
So that's how it's listed in the municipal code. It's based on the size of the existing tree. It's not that it was arbitrary. That's the required size based on the size of the trees being removed. I mean, so that's all outlined in the municipal code.
Okay.
However, and so normally tree removals can be approved by the community development director. The DRC has the ability to approve lesser standards than what's required in the municipal code. And since it's at this meeting, we do have the opportunity to approve a smaller size tree if we so desire. So you're formally requesting that the 36-inch box be reduced to 24 inches, correct?
Yes, please.
Correct.
Okay. So with that, I was going to make a mention on the tree removal that before that request, that technically this board isn't really the approving body, but we could kind of consent to the replacement and the removal really, because everything else is compatible with this municipal code. But since you are requesting a variance, but basically in the size requirement, we then do become the approving body for the tree removal application. So I'll let Richard and Cody see if they have any concerns about reducing the size from 36 to 24.
Understanding that in other references of relocating and using larger trees, that the larger trees are less receptive to taking, but being that this is a 36-inch box, I don't believe that's necessarily an issue. So I would be leaning towards keeping the code requirement of the 36-inch box. Richard, do you have any?
I have no concern with reducing the 24-inch.
And I was going to present it a medium ground. If we do 2 36 inches and 2 24s, and then we could place the 36-inch ones at the more prominent visible locations as the primary trees for the development, and then 2 of the 24s in the less visible locations.
And I'm good.
Actually,
I'm good with that.
but actually, we're removing 2 trees, so that would be double. That would double the requirement.
My understanding though is
Right, so-
were both of those trees heritage trees, significant trees? They were. I thought there was only one for some reason, but both are protected. Okay, so then I would still be supportive of doing half of the trees at code and the other half at the reduced 24-inch boxes. I'm assuming that both trees meet the 36-inch box requirement. I don't have.
I believe it's speaking to Dio. He said that they both do not. One of them is smaller than the other. I mean, one of them it's like a more of a shrub than because it's got so many little sucklings coming out from it. But and he said that he could measure it if we requested that of him, and I think he was going to measure them this weekend. So I'm not sure what the results of that is.
Okay. how about this, since we are approving this, if any of the 2 trees require a replacement larger than 24, then we will agree to replacing half of those trees at the 24-inch box. The other 2 are required to be replaced at the size that the code requires. But if
Okay,
it's
thank
under
you very
24,
much.
then it won't matter, and if it's over
Yeah.
24, then half of those will be 24, the other half will be as per code.
Okay, thank you very much. I
We'll
appreciate
figure out
it.
the details later, yeah.
Okay. And then to condition number 72, for the Fruit Street site, it talks
Yeah.
about,
Yeah,
the final certs of the Fruit Street, can't be issued until an equal percentage of the Walnut Street development. And I don't believe that this is in alignment with the development agreement that we have with the city.
so,
I was thinking both. Go ahead.
yeah, I agree. I understand what your point is. I don't think it's contradictory. But because the development agreement talks about issuance of permits and doesn't have a condition on final COs. So, those are 2 different steps, right? And so just because those could be approved at one time, issued at a certain time, doesn't mean the CO. But I agree. And so the only goal here was to try to make sure that the 2 projects stay aligned with each other, right? That we don't get too far ahead and then something happens where we're stuck with Walnut not being completed and you have Fruit Street completely done. And so I'm willing to listen to a proposed modification to this condition, but this was our stab at trying to assure that the projects kind of were aligned with each other in terms of when they reach the finish line, right? Knowing that the Fruit Street project is probably a little bit more complicated to build out than the Walnut Street. So you probably want more time to start working on there and understanding that, but just making sure. And again, we're talking about final COs, so it doesn't preclude us from issuing a TCO. If, at that time, when we get to that stage, that you're really ready for somebody to move in and there's only some landscaping or other minor stuff, it wouldn't prevent us from giving a TCO to let that happen, just knowing that the final COs are aligned with each other for the 2 projects. That was our goal. So again, if you want to, yeah.
Maybe I can address that perspective. That the Fruit Street project is going to be phased as far as construction goes. We're not building it all, we're going to build it. You won't see any delays, but they're not all going to be ready for CFO at the same time. That also to pick up the fact that the strategy of issuing TCOs for finals for say the phase 1 units, that is not going to be acceptable to most lenders. Most lenders want to have a final CFO before they'll sign off on a loan for those units in phase 1. I have not, I'll be honest, I haven't sat there and compared the 2 conditions, the ones from the DDA and the ones from this proposed one, but we were fully aware of the DDA one and we were fine with that. I just want to make sure there's no conflict and we don't later cause a problem when phase 1 is ready to go and people are ready to move in, and for whatever reason there's an issue. We just want to avoid any issues as possible.
So
Also,
yeah.
sorry, this is Angela real quick. The buildings have like 7 units, or like the model building has, I think it's like 9 units. And so having only 1 out of 8 or 1 out of 6 or whatever, that kind of splits a building. So it'd be nice if you guys kind of revised it so that it was a little different. And it's, obviously we may want occupancies in both buildings, and that's because that's part of phase 1. It just kind of splits it in a really odd way. So if you guys could just,
yeah, did you have any suggested language?
yeah, I don't know.
So on the phasing, that's a good question I've had. And I saw your phasing plan that showed phase 1 basically being the north buildings, the north half of the site, and phase 2 being the south height, and the models in front. I'm assuming that means the models will be part of phase 1, or are the models under construction before phase 1 even?
The models will be built right away. So those would be built right away, and then we would come and ask the city for temporary occupancy for the models, so we could open those up to start showing people the models. But the rest of the units in that building, it's a multi-unit building, would not be final, because we would want the buyers to be able to pick their flooring and their counters and all that kind of stuff. So the shell would be done, but the interiors wouldn't be finished. So those would be finished when we get to that final phase of selling. Those are usually the last units we sell.
Right, so the first one built, but the last one sold.
Not last one sold and closed, yes.
And so I'm just trying to, again, do that process for the models, for example. The TCO would be in place until you're ready to, everything's wrapped up and buttoned up, and then we would issue the final. So that'd be at the end for the models, but you phase 1 and phase 2. So 9 of the 50 are up front, and then basically we have 41. So about 20 and 20 between phase 1 and phase 2, 20 and 21, right? So
Sorry, there's 8 units to a building for the 2 that are facing north towards the high school. And then we have 6 in building A over facing the apartment. So it's just kind of an odd way of splitting it out. So
you have 7 buildings, correct?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And we have 8 lots on Walnut.
So one of the building D has 8, building C has 7, building A has 6. So it's just kind of
How about this? Because you're going to be requesting the occupancy for the whole building at the same time, right? So
correct.
so let's tie the buildings to the lots. So they're almost the same. So we will not issue final occupancy for the first building on Fruit until we've issued the final occupancy for one house on Walnut.
So you're saying the model building?
It doesn't matter, whichever way you want to do it. That one building on Fruit equals 1 lot on Walnut, recognizing you have 8 lots on Walnut. You know, we could write it to be where that the last 2 lots on Walnut are final at the same time as the last building on Fruit. So that way we're tied into the buildings. That's how you're going to be requesting the occupancy instead of the percentage. I understand that. I agree that doesn't make sense since you're going to be doing it in those phases. So regardless of the number of units per building, we'll just do the buildings. And you could choose which building you request final occupancy for, and same thing with Walnut, which lot you want to do final occupancy for as well. And in the meantime, utilize temporary occupancies to do what we need to do to get them people in if that need be the case.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. The last thing I have is it's just an error on general conditions for Walnut, page 7. The property needs to be annexed into the LA County Sanitation District. I double checked, and the property on Walnut is already annexed in, so we don't need to annex that one, just Fruit Street.
What condition number?
It's one of those checked boxes in the general conditions for Walnut, page, page 5 of 7. And it's at the bottom of the page, so it does not apply to Walnut.
Correct. Any other comments on conditions of approval?
No, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time.
Okay, committee members, do we have questions for staff or the applicant? We'll start with Cody.
No, I don't have any further questions at this point.
Richard?
Just a couple things. Fruit Street, is that still set up with a master meter?
Yes,
Okay,
that's how we have planned.
and the hydrants are private?
Correct. They'll be managed by the HOA.
Okay, and then for sewer, there'll need to be a wastewater collection capacity study to make sure we can handle all the flow, anticipated flow.
I believe that was going to be part of our construction document submittals. So,
Okay, and then over on Walnut, it's a city water line that's running through the property. Is that correct?
Correct. We'd like to have the city water in the streets and then individual meters for each homeowner.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure that was still the plan.
Yeah.
That's the only comments I had.
All
So
right, thank you, Richard.
we'll technically make the sewer wastewater capacity study a condition of approval to be submitted with the construction drawings.
Okay, actually, I have one more. The sewer line on Fruit that goes through the property, that is a public sewer.
I thought we were gonna do private.
I'll have to go back and check because we normally don't allow private.
My recollection
Okay.
is that it was public.
Yes. Which required sewer manholes at the end of the line instead of cleanouts.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I have like 6 projects that I'm entitling, so it gets a little mixed up. So yes, I remember that. So,
Okay,
yeah, we do have manholes at the end of the lines.
all right, thank you.
Okay, Jessica, anything?
No, I believe all my comments have been submitted.
Okay, I just have a couple things. One, so I do want to make sure we have a specific condition. I know you talked in your report, Vanessa, and I think it'll come up on the drawings eventually on the median modifications that are required to make the left turn plug it in. That it also includes the modifications for the new left turn into the center driveway at Windsor High School. Because that is another component that's part of the modifications that are required to provide the school the left turn in as well. So I just want a condition that specifically states that both of those modifications would be required.
If I could, just a clarification on that, just in case, because obviously we're conditioning us to make a modification to the frontage on somebody else's property.
No,
We're gonna have to ask.
No, just the median in the center of the street. No changes to their driveways.
Okay, good.
And the school's aware of that, and they are fine with that modification to accommodate the left
Good.
turn into your pocket, into your project. So, no, yeah, nothing
Okay.
on the on site, all within the street.
Good.
And then, I also, it's not a condition, but I wanted to be on the record that, as Vanessa stated in the report, that, the development review committee does have the ability to reduce, development standards in the specific plans based on the projects that are being proposed. And so with that, some of these standards that apply specifically to fruit, don't meet the required setback, for example, front yard setback, but because it meets the 20% open space requirement and it's at the density permitted, that this committee board has the approval to approve the project as proposed, as requested. So I'd like the final approval letter for the precise plans to indicate that the DRC is basically invoking that allowance as allowed for in the specific plan amendment to allow the projects to be built as currently designed. So with that, we've got a couple modifications to conditions as we've discussed here. I'm not going to redo them all, but we've made note of them, and we have this video to go back on to confirm if we need be. But Vanessa will make those modifications in advance of tomorrow night's planning commission meeting, so they'll be given a updated version of the conditions of approval and the staff report with those changes noted. That way they're aware of that, and we'll get that out to them as soon as possible. But with that, do I have a motion to approve case number 6220 PPR and 6420 PPR conditionally based on the ultimate adoption of this other applications and recommending approval to the planning commission, city council, on the other applications, as well as the mitigated negative declaration, recognizing that document. We reviewed that document for the record, and that we're recommending final adoption by the city council of the environmental as well. So with that and the modifications to the conditions discussed this morning, is there a motion to approve and recommend approval?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. All right, you have our support. And so we will see you tomorrow evening at the planning commission.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, and that does conclude this morning's meeting. So our next regular meeting of the Development Review Committee will be held on September, no, I'm sorry. What is it next week? Sorry. Hold on. October 5th, 2021 at 9 a.m. Thank you, everybody.